Luck happens when preparation meets opportunity. Or, in other words, it happens, luck only happens to those that are constantly staying prepared. And this is how you attract opportunities. And not only attract them, but seize opportunities. As you can see, community, today's topic is where we say that preparation meets opportunity. And this is very important to understand, community, because especially in these late stages now, when we obviously are in the bull cycle. And the best way to understand that we're in the bull cycle is simply by seeing how the momentum is shifting from Bitcoin dominance to altcoin dominance led by Ethereum. So just briefly showing here, let me click here so we can zoom in. So Bitcoin has been consistently at 65. Just on June 27th, this is barely a month ago, right? So it's just July in between. So 6 weeks ago, Bitcoin was at a 65 all-time high, 65% dominance, right? And now it's below 60. It's at 59.2 and it's still decreasing. Meanwhile, Ethereum has climbed up all the way above 12, just about to hit 13%. This is exactly what you see. And even if you look at the percentage, you see how Bitcoin dominance has decreased over 4%. Meanwhile, other tokens have been up only 1% when Ethereum has been up over 3%. So this just shows you that indeed this is always a very, very clear sign and indication that we're literally in an alt season, bull cycle. Whenever you see Ethereum taking dominance in terms of ETF inflows, in terms of, like we said, the dominance, volume, attention, and all these are happening before there's clarity in terms of ETF staking, Ethereum ETF staking, in terms of products being rolled out by financial institutions, in terms of stable coins. This is before all these tokenized assets in terms of tokenized US treasuries and so on and so forth are being rolled out. This is way before existing financial markets like real estate, commodities, foreign exchange market, bond market, the stock market are actually on chain. So the best is yet to come. But what's the point of all of this if you're not prepared? And luck only shows up when you are prepared to meet opportunity. If not, luck is not going to come your way. So this session, we're going to look at real-world examples of how you prepare yourself, or how market leaders have been preparing themselves way ahead. And as luck comes, you can call it luck, fate, whatever you feel comfortable with, and it will come your way, right? So just this week, President Trump made a major manufacturing announcement, right? Actually, it was on Thursday. Major announcement, and this was a big deal. Apparently, like it was breaking news. They made it look like it's breaking news, right? And President Trump, like in this short video, and you can YouTube it, and there's so many videos, like you can just tune in and listen. You see him talking about how he's allowing, in this specific case, Apple, to start literally becoming a manufacturing company, a utility company rather, right? To start producing their own utility, and and all of that in the US, right, on home grounds. And on top of that, also to expand their manufacturing strength and their manufacturing channels, along with other partners of Apple in terms of like the Face ID that they need or whatever parts that they need, semiconductors. So most of the Apple's partners also are residing or coming over to the US to facilitate the logistics. However, majority, especially if it comes to assembling, is still happening in Asia, specifically China, right? Also expanding to India and so on and so forth. However, mainly it's still in China. So, what has all of this to do with our topic today, you might ask yourself? And let's break this down. So, we all know that tariffs are taking place and that many industries, many institutions are actually being hit with all these tariffs. But then again, if you're not prepared for things way ahead of time, you might miss out on luck paying you a visit, right? So you need to always be prepared to capture, make the most out of the opportunities that are coming so that luck will be your constant companion. So now that that announcement was made on Thursday, let's look at the reality of things. It was made to look like it's something groundbreaking, it's cutting edge news, and it has not been done before, and so on and so forth. I always remind us that let's always ensure that we verify facts. Let's take our time to ask the questions why, and let's always not take everything at its face value, but let's take the time to analyze, study, and understand and look at the bigger picture of all of this. So now we are left with a huge announcement made by the sitting President Trump, US President Trump, announcing that he is literally allowing, in this case specifically, Apple to become a utility company. And also, Apple has announced $100 billion of investment in addition to the pledged 500 billion that they did already last year. And so bring it up to 600 billion. So for a cash flow wealthy company like Apple is, they're very heavy in cash flow. So Apple is one of those companies that have a couple $100 billion just in cash sitting around that waiting to be deployed. So this is nothing for Apple. So such investments, especially spread out over the next 4 years, is not a big deal. And by the way, we'll realize that this is nothing new, and Apple has been doing this for years already. And as we'll also see, it's not just Apple, but it's the entire tech giant. There's a reason why you become a market leader. There's a reason why you dominate the industry you're in. There's a reason why there's no competition when you're dominating and you're doing the right thing and you're preparing yourself consistently, adapting to the latest technology and embracing it, and to just remain dominant. If you do that, if you take that route to always be and remain prepared, invest in your in your education, your knowledge that is freely available publicly, and especially in our ecosystem, in our community, we stress so much on being informed, educated. So let's take this to our next article. Just to verify, because it's a bold statement to say that the announcement made on Thursday by the sitting US President Trump between tech giants that they're getting ready to come home and start investing at home, it's nothing new. They've been doing that, and it's been part of the agenda, as we're about to see. And this is just part of being prepared so that when the occasion or opportunity arises, you are caught not unprepared, but you're actually caught prepared, that you can actually take advantage. When everybody else is being hit with tariffs, what you've been preparing for years is actually serving you as a shield. In this case, a shield against tariffs to hit your company, specifically Amazon, Apple, Meta, Microsoft, like we said, Amazon. So those are the largest tech companies right now as we speak, and they've been preparing, and this is why they are now sheltered, and they are literally being sheltered against tariffs, as we're about to see. So Apple ramps up investments in clean energy and water around the world. So there's an article back from last year in April 2024. So This off the bat just blows up the theory that Thursday's announcement is cutting edge breaking news. It is literally not. This is something Apple has been doing for many, many years. And together, Apple and suppliers, like we said, are supporting over 18 gigawatts of clean energy and are delivering billions of gallons in water benefits and savings, right? So I'm not going to go through every single line here, but what I want us to understand here, the takeaway is that Apple has a 2030 plan. It's been having a 2030 plan. And it's also been working towards this 2030 plan for a very long time, 11 years to be specific. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. So, what was announced on Thursday is not something that is new, and that just now, just on Thursday, Apple decided to now invest in the US to avoid being hit or being the graces of or favor of the sitting President Trump. But this is something they've been doing for many, many years. And because they've been preparing and thinking ahead of time and setting up infrastructures way ahead of time, luck is in their favor now because they've been prepared. So when opportunity comes in, like right now, their shield, they have a solid shield that they won't get hit as hard. And now they're in the good graces of President Trump and won't have to be hit as hard, or if at all, by these tariffs that is actually hitting every other industry, country, and institutions as well. So Apple already had a 2030 plan. And if we even go and scroll further down, we see that it's part, as part of Apple 2030, the company has called on its global suppliers to use clean electricity and become carbon neutral across all their Apple related operations, right? So there have over 320 suppliers, as you can imagine. There's a really sophisticated logistics, right, going on here to produce Apple products across various countries, across 320 suppliers and so on and so forth. And 95% of Apple's direct manufacturing spent so far. The goal for 2030 is to ensure that all operational facilities within the US or outside of the US are 100% renewable energy driven, right? That's a lot of savings going on, cost savings going on, and most costs, especially for such data heavy companies like Apple, like Meta, right? Facebook, Amazon, Microsoft, they are very using data centers, and these data centers are driving high hardwares for with AI capabilities that require intensive amount of energy, and that's where most of the expenses go into. So investing in energy is in their best interest. So I just want us, the takeaway here is that I want us to understand that what's the announcement that was made on Thursday is nothing new. It's been something that is actually in the agenda, on the agenda of Apple, and it's part of Apple's pledge to match every watt of charging electricity with clean electricity by 2030, including through large-scale investments in new renewable energy in markets around the world. So not just in the US, but around the world. So this is something they've been already doing for years, right? So in the US, Apple is investing in a portfolio of solar projects across Michigan with construction underway to bring 132 gigawatts of clean energy and so on and so forth. They're also very, very much present in Europe, in the European region as well. So this is just to confirm or to verify that, okay, this is nothing new. This is something that Apple has been doing and has been participating in. And to really bring this point home, specifically, Apple has been heavily invested in geothermal power, and it's been sought by them. Why? Is for US production facilities, right? So, and when were they doing this? They were doing this 11 years ago. This was back in 2014. So the huge announcement made and the credits taken by Trump on Thursday of bringing all these things at home and having all these billions of dollars being invested in the U.S. This has been going on. At least Apple has been doing this for the last 11 years already. It didn't just start on Thursday. They didn't just wake up one day and decided to do this or start doing this on Thursday, but rather they've been already doing it. But because they've been preparing themselves for 11 years, now their preparation met the opportunity and it's shielding them through luck to avoid, or rather, even ease up the tariffs that is hitting everyone globally, every corporation and country alike. So Apple Corporation has negotiated power purchase agreements of up to 75 megawatts with an Arizona-based utility company. That was back in 2014. And this is to supply Apple production facilities in Arizona, US. So they've been already investing in renewable energy. They've been already investing in the US, and they've been already investing in manufacturing their in manufacturing buildings or companies within the US borders using renewable energies. So the announcement on Thursday is nothing new. That's the whole takeaway. It's been something that they've been doing all along. It just happens that because they've already been doing that and investing so much money, they can use that to claim that, hey, look at us, President Trump. Look how much we're investing and bringing a lot of employment and a lot of infrastructures that we're building. We are expanding new facilities in the U.S. and doing all these things in the U.S. So don't hit us too hard with the tariffs. If let's avoid all of that altogether. And this is the difference, right? If you are already prepared, if you're already doing something that towards working towards something, you have a high chance that opportunity gives you get the opportunity, and that's how you meet luck and you avoid all these other things that everybody else is suffering from or being hit with, because you are always prepared and you've been preparing yourself ahead of time. To be competitive in this industry, don't go with the mainstream, don't go with the flow. Always be steps ahead, always be forward thinking. See things before they happen, see things before they become public and common information. That's the best way to move and really position yourself to have a competitive advantage. Let's move on to another article. What I want us to understand is that we've been always talking about Apple, but Google as well. So Google has been already, and so far, to be honest, Google is actually lagging behind Microsoft, Amazon, and Apple. However, they're also signing geothermal. You see geothermal energy a lot. It's because the big tech companies are investing in and also want to become utility companies because it's very cash intensive, meaning that they have a residual income. They have they have a cash flow coming in being a utility company. And in this video here, in this YouTube video I showed you at the beginning, literally Trump is telling the public that he gave these tech giants the green light to literally become utility companies. In this case, specifically Apple. So if whatever manufacturing plants that Apple, Amazon, Microsoft, Meta, which is Facebook, are building, they're literally investing in becoming utility companies. So whatever neighborhoods they're in, they'll be providing the utility to those neighborhoods, earning hundreds of millions of dollars consistently and becoming even more dominant, right? As they're using that utility for their data centers, for the AI technology, but at the same time, they're also using the excess produced utility to sell back into the grid and to sell into to the communities that their factories are built on. So this is the future community where you see existing financial giants or tech giants, like I said, Google, Apple, Amazon, Microsoft, and Apple are the ones that are still getting heavily involved into renewable energy, geothermal specifically, and the excess utility that they're producing to power their plants, their manufacturing plants in the US and even outside of the US, but now specifically US. They're also using it to sell back into the grid, to sell back to the communities, and have a residual income in addition to their daily business operational revenues that they also generate. So back to what we just discussed here. It's not just Apple, it's Google. Google also wants to boost, and this article is just from April this year, and they want to boost and have 24/7 clean power. Keep in mind, Google has major data centers across the world. So they're using a lot of energy, electricity. They have data centers, and they also also power not as cloud storage, but also powers AI, right? The AI systems. So, and this is why they are heavily invested in renewable energy, so that they can not just cut costs, but they're on their own right, in their own right, can become an energy company, utility company, and generate revenue that way as well. So Google has reached a major clean energy milestone by signing the first ever corporate power purchase agreement, right, for geothermal energy in Asia, in Taiwan to be specific. And Taiwan plays a major role, and it's very strategically done because Taiwan. Exactly. So the deal struck with global developer Baseload Capital will deliver 10 gigawatts of continuous carbon-free power to Taiwan's grid. So imagine that, like what we just said. So these are already tech giants that are dominating the industry. They're the largest companies based on market cap in the world. But now they are getting into utility as well. And they already were very they had heavy and deep cash flow, deep liquidity already in the first place. These companies have hundreds of billions of dollars in cash sitting around. Now they're getting into utilities, not just within the country, like the region, the US, but now across the world as well. In this specific case in Taiwan, they're feeding the power that they produced into the Taiwanese grid. And this is, of course, to support the electricity needs of Google's local data centers and operations as well. So, and this is also part of the strategy, right? Again, they have a vision, and this vision is ironically always the same, right? It's always Vision 2030. So this is now Google, right? So who else? If you look at who else is involved, you see Meta, and surprise, they're also into geothermal. And geothermal is actually a renewable energy that, unlike solar, of course, or wind, doesn't depend on solar, for example, depends on the sun shining. So during the day, wind depends on whenever the winds are the heaviest. Geothermal, however, is heat from the ground, so it's 24/7, and this is what these large tech companies are now investing in, not just for their own data centers, right, to power the US data centers, but globally as well, and also turning them into utility companies, which, by the way, on Thursday, US President Trump announced giving Apple specifically the green light to become a utility company in the US, literally, right? So Meta is another one, and they are also turning themselves into a utility company and are doing power purchasing, repurchasing agreements as well. What I want us to understand here is that one thing, these companies already have been doing this, and they all have a vision. And the vision is they have this 2030 vision, right, of being carbon free and being able to power all their global operations literally at a zero carbon, meaning at no interest, no payment, right, no fees whatsoever in terms of using electricity. And they want to use all of these utility electricity to power their data centers, right? So another thing is also who else? So we saw Meta, we saw Google, we saw Apple, and of course Microsoft is there as well, right? And you all see that they have pledged to become carbon negative by 2030. So all of them have this vision 2030 to become carbon free and to be able to produce their own utility to power their data centers, not just in the US, globally. They've been doing this for years. And this is the irony that it's just now that it's being brought into the public awareness that, oh, and President Trump is taking all the credits, that on Thursday, it makes it seem like that's when these tech giants decided to start doing that, right? So let's go back and close out on this. So Microsoft's new campus, right? They're also run on geothermal. So I'm sure you're tired of reading geothermal or hearing geothermal energy, but this is exactly the buzzword. This is exactly what's used, and this is the type of renewable energy that is 24/7 available. And this is what these tech giants that are very heavy on cash flow are heavily invested in, because it not just powers their data centers and operations nationally and internationally, but it also turns them into a utility company generating extra revenue on top of their daily operational businesses, right? So this is what I wanted us to understand. This is the takeaway. And this is what I also wanted to understand, is that they're building all of these, like this is in East Seattle, Washington, right? Is in Washington State. And it's part of the pledge, like we said, for their 2030 vision that they have. So who else? Let's close out with the largest one, Amazon. Amazon has always been a market leader. Whatever they do, they're always the first to do these things. And they were also the first one to move into cloud computing back in 2008. And they're also the one to achieve 100% renewable energy target 7 years earlier than anticipated. Their goal was initially planned for 2030, like everybody else, but they achieved it 7 years earlier, 2 years ago already, 2023. So they are the front runners as always. Amazon is very, like we said, they have deep liquidity, deep cash at hand that they can deploy, and they've always looked at other ways to diversify to earn additional revenue. And right now, what's very, very interesting and very lucrative for these large tech giants is renewable energy, specifically geothermal. And so again, this is just to debunk that the notion that on Thursday, what's happened on Thursday is breaking news, and that is what just started taking place 2 days ago. It's been happening for 11 years for Apple, or 4 years for Google, or some even earlier, right? But this is just to show us that everybody has planned 2030 vision. And when they say that, let's go back here. This article says that Apple is investing into, let's come over here. Let's close this out. When Trump announced that Apple plans to invest $100 billion in the US manufacturing on Thursday, they've been doing it for 11 years. This is nothing new. This is not, it's not a news, right? And it's not just them, like we just saw. These are tech giants. They plan to up domestic investments over the next 4 years. It fits perfectly because their vision 2030, right? We are at the end of 2025. So 26 to 30, that's 4 years. It fits perfectly into their 2030 plan, but they integrating it, making it look like now they're investing domestically. However, they just seek to avoid Trump's threatened tariffs. That's the bottom line. So the takeaway here is that because they've been preparing themselves, some even 11 years ago, they position themselves to take advantage of this opportunity that everybody else, specifically their competition, right, on a global scale, are being hit with all these tariffs, but because they've been preparing themselves, taking advantage of this opportunity, as luck has it, they are shielded against these tariffs, even though they're already monopolies dominating. So they're going to crash their smaller competition even more, because Amazon, Apple, Microsoft, Google, they can afford to do all of this because they already have dominating their industries respectively. In addition, they're also the ones that are literally the most cash heavy. They have deep hundreds of billions in cash, and they can afford to diversify and invest in other industries such as utility, energy, and as much so as becoming their own utility companies, and even sell back the excess into the grid, not just nationally, but like we saw in the case, for example, of selling back into Taiwan grid, for example, as well. So, community, what are we saying? What's the takeaway of this? You need to be prepared and be part of an ecosystem, at least, that is literally prepared for all of this. What I want us to understand is that we've been talking about how Ethereum is the platform where many industries are literally going to be built, many applications are going to be built on. And we've been talking about how liquid Ethereum is getting ready to become. The entire new financial system is going to be built on it. But what's the point of all of that if your ecosystem, your token, is not prepared to make the most out of it? Like we just made example for the last few minutes of how preparation meets opportunity, and that's when lucks come in. Luck steps in when preparation meets opportunity. So how are we prepared? Let's start with, let's highlight our three community tokens: BullRun, Survivor, Killer Whale. Let's start with Survivor. In terms of Survivor and Killer Whale, we're directly paired. First of all, we're directly paired with Ethereum, as you can see here. So our pair is ETH, right? This is our pair right now. And the way we prepared ourselves is, first of all, we locked our token for 100 years. Now there's 98 years left, as you can come here and verify. Excuse me. You can come right here and verify. We are locked for 98 years still. It was 100, right? And why is that important? Is because you want to ensure that no one has access to the tokens or ecosystems liquidity. This is basic. It should be standard, and it's not locked for a few months or a few weeks or just a year or so, but it's locked for 100 years, 98 years left, as you can see. Another thing that is important for us to understand is the tokenomics, but we'll get to that as we go through the website. But as we are here, I want us to look at another thing. The contract has been renounced. What does this mean? Why is this so important? There's nothing you can change, right? For example, the taxes are at 1%, buy and sell, and the banning mechanism that has in place, nothing, and the liquidity pool is locked and the contract is renounced. There's nothing that can be changed, making this a completely, fully community-driven token project. And it's Survivor, right? And let's go deeper and look at its website and verify. You know, it's one thing to say something, but let's verify. So as you can see on the website, the contract has been renounced. We verified it. We saw it, on Dex Tools, how the contract in green has been renounced. It has a banning mechanism also. So 1% tax goes towards banning the supply. So it's a deflationary token. And then the liquidity, like we showed you, was actually locked for 100 years. There's still 98 years to go because the project is mature, has been around for over a year, almost 2 years now. It's gone through the worst bear market, and it's yet to go through the bull market along with Ethereum as it's paired to Ethereum. Another thing that I want to highlight is there are no team tokens. There are no team tokens. There was no pre-sale. There were no whitelisting. So meaning the developers did not share tokens among themselves for free. There was no pre-sale, like we say, no whitelisting whatsoever. 100% of the total supply were paired and added into the liquidity pool, right? And this is very important. So there's no room for inflation. All of the supply was in the placed in the liquidity pool. All of these aspects make Survivor be 100% community-driven token. It's 100% decentralized and it's 100% transparent. And this is something that is very important. This is all part of how do you prepare so that when opportunity comes, especially that one that is right in front of us right now and is already happening as we speak, how do we make the most of it? Ensure that you're part of a community, a part of a token that is prepared for that, and that it has the fundamentals and the tokenomics and the community and the community events on a daily basis. And this is one of them, to inform, educate the community on how to prepare. None of this is financial advice, of course. These are just my personal opinions, and this is just to share my opinion on what it takes, and just to inform and educate on what it takes to have a solid, fundamentally efficient and sustainable token to make the most out of this liquidity event that we're about to experience. Another one that I'd like us to talk about, of course, the other one is known as Killer Whale, right? Killer Whale is another one, and literally has the same tokenomics like Survivor, in terms of it's also locked. It still has just shy of 98 years as well to go. It's locked for 100 years with 98 years to go. Its also contract has also been renounced, right? It also has a 1% buy and sell. And the 1% buy and sell goes towards banning the supply. So, same concept like we just discussed about Survivor, we can apply right here. So there were also no team tokens, no pre-sale, no white listings whatsoever. So there's no inflationary or no locked vesting tokens that will be dumped right back into the liquidity, but rather 100% of the Killer Whale supply went towards liquidity pool. Another thing also is that all of these, of course, make it 100% community driven, decentralized, and transparent as well, because 1% goes towards ban. It's locked for 100 years, like we say, with 98 years left. And then the contract has been also renounced, just like with Survivor as well. So it's deflationary through the banning. The contract has been renounced, liquidity has been locked, and it has a 1% banning mechanism, making it deflationary. This is how you have fundamentally sound, strong tokenomics and tokens, preparing yourself for the opportunities that are ahead of us to make the most out of this liquidity rush that we're about to experience. Now, we can't discuss. Now, finally, our third one is BullRun itself. We've discussed Survivor and Killer Whale. The one on the far left is known as BullRun. BullRun's function is it's a staking platform. Its staking rewards come through the trading volume. It's tied to the trades that are happening. The more trades that take place on the platform, the more USDC distributions there are. So the higher the trading volume, the higher the USDC distributions. It's directly tied towards it. But besides that, BRL is also addressing the 4 challenges that we are faced with in this industry. And let's go down through all 4 of them. And we've been discussing this for many times, but for the ones that are new in this community, in this ecosystem, in this industry, it's important to understand that the traditional financial world is under a debt-driven monetary system. And that means that in order to stimulate the economy, you have to print fiat. And whenever you print fiat, 3 things happen. The most obvious one, obviously, is inflation, right? If you print something or mint something and add something into the economy, you're causing inflation. That's the most obvious. The second obvious one is you lose your purchasing power. Inflation always means loss of purchasing power. Like you devalue whatever asset that you adding through printing, minting, you're just diluting it. So it loses its purchasing power. Third and final is because it's debt driven, that's another giveaway. That means that your debt ceiling is being increased. And these are things that in the traditional world right now, this is what we're faced with. These are the challenges that we are faced with right now and need to be addressed. So, how do you make the most out of opportunities? Address challenges before they become law and it's legally binding to meet these requirements. So this is why 2 years ago we already thought ahead of time and implemented burning to address or rather to tackle inflation. So if you want to avoid inflation, and this is extremely important because it's a staking platform. If you want to have a staking platform, your staking platform cannot be inflationary. Who will want to stake an asset, a token that is diluting and it's being inflated and its purchasing power is losing? It's losing its purchasing power. So number one, very important thing is for a staking platform, it needs to be deflationary and preferably like ours, it needs to be scarce. We started with 1 million in supply, as you can see here. We had 1 million tokens in supply here, total supply, but now it's down to, let's look at it. Now it's down to 900 according to Etherscan. Here you can verify. There's only 960,000 left, right? To be specific, 960,900 out of 1 million. So our supply is literally scarce. It's reducing with every trade, every volume, every buy and sell. Our supply just keeps shrinking. This is the perfect condition for a staking platform. Another thing, like we said, another challenge beside the causing inflation, is liquidity, lack of liquidity, to be specific. And this is also another thing that we address, and we are actually retaining liquidity. Same with trade. The more trades are happening, the more liquidity are being accumulated. So why is liquidity so important? And this has been already put into suggestion. The SEC just the other day, Security and Exchange Commission in the US, just suggested that one of the requirements for a staking platform is that there is enough liquidity for the staking participants to be able to, whenever they're ready to withdraw their staked assets, there should be liquidity available. This is why we are retaining 3% of liquidity, which is also added not through the efforts of anyone, community developers, but rather through the protocol itself, right? So it's a smart contract that when this token gets traded, it burns the supply and it accumulates the liquidity, right? Without the efforts of anybody else or any third party, but directly from the protocol itself, the protocol activities and adaptation by itself. Another one, the third one, is having sustainable staking distribution. Staking plays such a major role, especially with Ethereum being the largest smart contract blockchain. Smart contract blockchain, proof of stake blockchain means staking plays a major role for two simple reasons. First, staking plays a major role to secure the network. The higher the percentage of your staked tokens, your staked amount, the higher the security your ecosystem is. And another part is how stable it stabilizes. The more staking takes place in your ecosystem, the more stable the price also becomes of your ecosystem, of your token. I brought you here once again to demonstrate, to show you that this number one wallet is not a dev wallet or one community member's large whale wallet, but rather there's a smart contract. As you can see here, it's a contract and it's a staking contract. It's the largest wallet, and there's over 76% of the total supply, specifically 730,000 BRL tokens are locked into the staking platform. So 76% of total supply. And one thing I also want to say is it's not locked for years, but rather it can be unlocked, unstaked, and redeemed at any given moment. And the stakers, the community members, are always at full control, have full access and full control of these assets, these staked assets. The only people they interact with, the only thing they interact with is a smart contract. So this is fully decentralized. And so far, we are, if not the number one most staked cryptocurrency in the space right now. And at its peak, we even had over 80% staked. So this is very important to understand. So staking at such a high percentage doesn't just show trust in the system, in the tokenomics and fundamentals of this smart contract, staking smart contract, but it also stabilizes the price of BullRun, and it also secures. It's to secure the network, the ecosystem as well. So those are the two things that staking plays a major role for. So not only do we have high staked percentage of our supply, but we also have a supply that keeps reducing its supply. So it's scarce. And then a supply that also keeps retaining liquidity through the mechanism. And the fourth and final is using your volume efficiently. So naturally, if you have deep liquidity community and a supply that keeps shrinking, and the US distributions, USDC distributions that are sustainable, this means that you keep attracting more traders, and more traders will trade in deeper liquidity, and this will bring more volume. And if you use your volume efficiently, you create a flywheel effect that with that volume, with that trading volume, you'll keep retaining more and more liquidity, attracting more traders, and bring even more volume, meaning that the supply will even keep shrinking even more. And those who are staking will keep receiving sustainable and efficiently receiving a USDC distributions on a consistent basis, on a sustainable basis, due to the deep liquidity and the traders that feel comfortable trading because there's enough liquidity, and the stakers that also remain staked because they feel comfortable because there's enough liquidity, right? So liquidity is good for the traders and the stakers as well. And if you use your volume efficiently, now you create that perfect flywheel effect that covers burning, that addresses burning, reducing the total supply, that retains liquidity through 3%, and that also distributes USDC distributions and encourages even more staking activities that are here to stabilize the ecosystem and to secure the ecosystem as well. So community, the topic of the day was what? We were discussing on how we want to ensure that we're in a situation where we take advantage of opportunities. And to do that, you need to be prepared. And luck comes when preparation meets opportunity. And this is the whole idea of this presentation today, is to show you that the market leaders of today, the Amazons, the Apple, Microsoft, Meta, they all have been preparing for 11 years, and even as late as last year. And because they've been preparing themselves for multiple years, they don't have to. They've been ready. They've been preparing themselves. So when challenges, when opportunities come like now, and opportunities can also be challenges for others that are not prepared. So for them, this is an opportunity, a competitive advantage. And because they've been preparing themselves, like we just seen, they created a shield against tariffs, and actually they're using this to become utility companies and generate even more volume, even more revenue to add to their already liquid balance sheet. So you see that when you prepare yourself, not only are you the market leader, the industry leader, but everything that affects the rest of the world, you become immune to it. And actually you can generate revenue where others are suffering in declining revenue. And that's the demonstration we made to prove a fact that the announcement made on Thursday by the sitting US President Trump in regards to Apple investing 100 billions in addition to the 500 billion pledge last year is not breaking news. They've been doing that for 11 years, since 2014. So has Meta, so has Amazon, Google, and Microsoft as well. All giants are heavily invested and are now green lighted to literally become utility companies, not just for themselves and to cover their operations, daily operations and data centers, but to also sell, have power purchase agreements with local communities and generate extra revenue across the world, not just nationally. So this is where, when you're prepared and you meet opportunities when you're prepared, and that's when luck comes in, or fate, or whatever you want to call it. So community, this is the message for today. I hope we got the message. Let's remain prepared, right? And let's always understand that this principle accounts for everyone, whether you're a builder, a developer, a trader, an investor. It accounts to anyone, right? Always be prepared, be informed, be in the know-how. Don't just take things for the face value. Question things, ask yourselves why, verify things, verify if it's a fact or it's a fiction, right? And take your time to inform and educate yourself. We have daily Zooms, we have weekly events. Like Wednesdays, we have Zooms led by Queens Debbie and Queen Val. Fridays and Sundays, we have Queens only sessions on Zoom as well. And then we have Mondays, we have Twitter Space on Monday, right? And Thursdays, we'll be also having or hosting YouTube lives as well. And in between, we have videos like these as well to the community. So let's owe it to ourselves to always be informed and educated. Let's verify things. Let's be prepared so that we can meet opportunity and embrace luck or fate that makes us make the most out of these situations, these opportunities. And the next big opportunity is right in front of us. Let's make the most out of it. By just simply remaining and being prepared. Thank you very much, community. This is it for today. And I want to wish you all a wonderful rest of your weekend. For the Queens tomorrow, I wish you a wonderful session as you'll be having it. And with that said, till we meet again, community. Bye-bye, everyone.